Okay, ciao Giulio Vanzan. It's really
Ciao Karen, light.
um, I'm really excited to talk to you. You're coming to the United States, to New York City, to teach Commedia dell'arte, and I wanted to kind of introduce you to New York and the world of physical theater and clown that is happening here, and give people a sense of who you are. You're this incredible teacher. You have this wealth of an artistic background. You've taught internationally. And I just want to share you and your artistic brilliance with my friends here in New York and in the United States and the world. So, glad to be talking to you. And can you share just a little bit about your background? Maybe what motivated you, what inspired you to pursue a path of movement theater to begin with?
Ciao Karen, ciao New York City. Hi, United States of America, and thanks for welcoming me and allowing me to take my background, my knowledge and experience on physical theater, mask theater, and commedia dell'arte. And I've been walking through the path of theater for almost 25 years already, mostly professionally. And why? For a simple reason. Physical theater gave me the best feeling I ever experienced. Just, I remember the first workshop I took with my master, Matteo Destro, that eventually taught in Helicos, the academy I attended. And I was there, in the presence of my body, in the space, with the people, and just felt myself. I just felt myself 100%. And so I just promised to me that I want that to live that experience, that feeling of beauty, of light, of sense more and more, and cultivate it and share with the others. Because like many people pray, and I found myself that theater is my prayer, my soul. So that's the answer. Why? Because of this. Because of this. And because I was allowed to allowed to feel my instincts, allowed to feel my emotions, allowed to express, allowed to go beyond what is the rules of society, of the community, of the religions. I come from Italy, so this is a very strong tradition. And just play. And through the play, just be happy and make people happy. So that's what theater meant that time to me, that made me choose that. Afterward, it became a way to live um, to give something to the world. That I mean is culture. It's not just fun. It's culture. It's to inspire society, inspire people for um, a true way of living in authenticity. And that's what took me all around the world, actually, because I worked all around Europe as an artist, as a teacher, as a trainer, as a director, the United States, mostly in the West Coast, where we met, Karen, and the Middle East, in the Middle East, with all the tradition, etc. So I found that physical theater is a language that makes sense all around the world because all of us have a body, a voice, a spirit, and desire to play.
Beautiful. So your response opens up all these other questions that I have for you. You mentioned, I think you mentioned somewhere in there ancient ritual and community. And you've shared with me before something about ancient ritual and mask,
Mhm.
how that translates to I might be going a little bit off topic here, and we can take this out later if it's too off topic. But I thought it was really fascinating what you shared about the connection between psychology and one's role in a family, one's role in life, and the connection to ancient, specifically ancient Greek theater, ancient Greek mask theater.
Yeah. So by the way, I'm a doctor of philosophy and PhD in psychology, and most of my research is on masks because I find it so fascinating, as you do. I find it so fascinating because if we think properly, every culture in the world, every place, every society in the world, since ever, has always been used masks to connect with an higher self. So we find masks in Italy, we find masks in Greece, we find masks in Native Americans, in Brazil, in Peru, in India, in Bali, in Africa, everywhere in the world. It's an instinct of the human spirit to put something above the face and to be somebody else, to be somebody else. Also, the kids do that. They put something in the face. I'm the Superman. I'm the Batman. I don't know. I'm a hero. So it's really something that connects us all as human beings. Why? Because each of us has the instinct, the deep intuition to be more of what we are defined by, are defined from our persona. No, we say in psychology, from our persona. And so the ancient Greeks, especially, they acknowledge that, and they made it ritualistic in a ritual that they call theater, that come from two Greek words, theos, tron, theos, tron. Theos are the gods, theos, theology, theocracy, theos, tron. That means look at the gods, stare at the gods, allow the gods inside of us to be manifested and celebrated. The gods of light and gods of shadows. Okay. And this deep psychological ritual, uplifted with beauty, with harmony, with music, with dance, with narration, became a way of healing, a way of celebration of life, a way of understanding the society, a way of educating the people, and to feeling one before the manifestation of tragedy, comedy, euphony, etc.
Right. Beautiful. Everything you say inspires me so much. So I'm reminded, to anybody watching, we have a shared lineage, Giulio and I. There's here's this kitty. Hi. He's come to say hi. We have a shared lineage. Giulio, you trained at Helico Scuola in Padova, right?
It was in Florence, but the origin of the school is in Padova.
Okay. And that school was founded by Giovanni Fusetti, student of Jacques Lecoq, who also ran the École for quite a time. Was very close with Lecoq. He created his own school, Helicos, with Matteo Destro, who you mentioned, and Elizabeth Barron, who is our connecting point, our maestra. And yes, and I'm remembering in what you said, what stood out to me is reminding me of something I've heard Giovanni say in many different ways, that there is everything that exists collectively also exists within us. So when we talk about the mask, the persona, the gods, there's the external mask, but there's also the mask that already lives inside of us. So there's Giulio, there's the personal Giulio, and there's the collective Giulio that exists in each of us. There's the personal Karen and the collective Karen that lives in each of us. And there are many jokes that could be made about that in the United States.
I can't wait to hear them.
Oh, I'm sure you will. And there's the personal there are personal deities, shadows, and collective shadows, right? So I'm remembering Giovanni talking about that. He would often say at the beginning of workshops, at the beginning of teaching, do you remember? Do you remember 2 weeks ago from today when we started a Buffon intensive? Do you remember being leaves on the trees? Do you remember being monkeys hanging on the branches? And when he would say it, you would remember. And that's the magic and the power of this work, which I know that you hold in your own way. And why I'm so excited for you to teach the form of mask called Commedia dell'arte.
Yeah.
How does Commedia dell'arte fit within this broader pedagogy of mask theater that you're talking about?
Well, Karen, it's a great question, a great topic. So I will talk about this very broadly. All this tradition started in Padova. Jacques Lecoq went to Padua to study because there was a lineage of anthropological research in Paris, in France that time. So the French used to go around the world to study traditions, and they heard about a funny tradition in Italy, northern Italy, in Padova, which is basically where I come from, some kilometers from there, some miles from there, of this kind of ancient theater with masks, where they play kind of animal stuff, animal movement, and animal characters. So they found it very funny. So Jacques Lecoq came all the way to study. He went to the University of Padova to search for the books. And he found it out that Commedia dell'arte was a living theater that was invented in the Padova in the 13th, 14th century. It was impro theater,
Improv,
made
is that what you said?
improvisation.
Yeah.
And it was very different because the theater at that time was only for the rich people. They used to tell their story to themselves inside the theaters, like they were like sanctuaries. And these guys decided to step some benches on the squares and to talk about the things of the common people: hunger, fear, desire, sex, all like the instincts that the common people have. These benches called banchi, so they started the invention of saltimbanchi, salt, jump on the banchi, salt on the benches. So, and it was so funny. They were so funny that hundreds, thousands of people were there laughing and playing together. But Commedia dell'arte became such a provocation because at that time, only at that time, now it's completely different. We live in democracy and open. The government was very, triggered by the provocation of these commedianti dell'arte. So they start to censor it. You cannot play in this way, especially through the mask. Because the mask, I have some here I will show. The masks of Commedia dell'arte are so powerful. This is a captain. I have some. I will explain later. The masks of Commedia dell'arte allow you to enter in a state of mind, a deep archetype of power that connects with the nature of being an animal, a lion, a cock, a monkey, and translate it in a full power of play. So what happens? If you really surrender yourself to the mask, you start to feel something inside of you moving and telling you what to do. But it has the power of the nature, the power of the what do you call it? Of the instincts of the animals. So somehow it's also connected. I've been working with a shaman from Mexico, and we talk about that a lot. That it's kind of the same tradition, but here now, in Commedia dell'arte, which is here now playing, it's more dedicated to narration, to tell stories, from the people to the people. So they censor it. They were only in the books because they were afraid of Commedia dell'arte. It was too powerful. And people were so connected with Commedia, they would just fell in love with the people denouncing the power. So Jacques Lecoq came all the way and other researchers came, especially Giorgio Strehler and Dario Fo, that won the Nobel Prize for Literature
Yeah.
for Commedia dell'arte. It was our last Nobel Prize, Italian Nobel Prize for Literature. And the reason was for the research on Commedia dell'arte. So Commedia dell'arte is the only unique style of theater who won Nobel Prize.
I didn't.
So what they did, they call a mask maker, a sculpture maker, Amleto Sartori, and all this team of geniuses that became famous all around the world. I mean, Jacques Lecoq, Dario Fo, Franca Rame, Giorgio Strehler, Amleto Sartori. They said, oh, this sounds amazing. Let's take it back to life. So they start to craft masks from the sketches on the books, ancient books. They start to see the movements. And they realize it was a movement theater, not a speak theater. Because come out of instincts and the body. So through the analysis of Commedia dell'arte, they invented what nowadays we call physical theater. And the 20 movements of Jacques Lecoq are basically the movements of Commedia dell'arte. That's it. All the research on masks are coming from the larval mask. Larval mask is more on the carnival of Basilea, but still all the mask research, all the clown research, big time 100%, on the impro, on the physical, it comes from the root of Commedia dell'arte. So, to answer, Commedia dell'arte is the root of modern theater. Commedia dell'arte is the great father of clown. Commedia dell'arte is the base for what nowadays we call physical movement theater.
Oh, okay. Now I have 10 million more questions. Um, you just said Commedia dell'arte is the great-great-grandfather of clown.
Of course.
I've never understood it that way before. I always, and I'm very curious about this perspective. I always thought that clown predated Commedia dell'arte, and you're saying no, it's the other way around.
Commedia dell'arte is an art of 14th century with codified masks. I will present the masks later. Codified masks. So you wear a mask, you enter in the form through the mask.
Yeah.
The clown research is very recent because clown was a circus kind of buffon, but through Jacques Lecoq, through Giovanni Fusetti, through us, through Liz Barron, the research is to take the inner.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Julia.
Commedia is calling. The gods of comedy are calling. We are here now. So is to take the inner form outside. So if in Commedia we wear a mask and we take the form, in clown we release the form and present it to the audience. So it's the counterpart of Commedia. Clown is basically one counterpart of Commedia. Moreover, clown is here now. You are present. And through the stimulation of the environment, of the people, of the audience, of the partners, you play. And those are the rules of Commedia dell'arte. The rules of Commedia dell'arte.
Saying, okay, so the pedagogy, the research of Commedia dell'arte predates clown. I'm sorry, please understand, I'm not trying to challenge you. I'm trying to understand for myself genuinely.
Of course.
It might be of interest to people who might watch this as well. My understanding is that there are clowns of some kind in every culture since ancient times. And the way they show up in Italy would be different than in Brazil or anywhere, any other culture, right? But I understood them as being predating the 14th century. But I think what you're specifically saying is you're talking about the pedagogy as it relates to this lineage from Italy and also Lecoq's.
Yeah, the pedagogy. Red nose, find a form, play here now.
Yeah.
Also, the masks of Commedia, the mask of animals are present all around the world since ever. Mask of lion, mask of monkeys, mask of tigers. You know, what Commedia did is a codification of roles. codification of style, codification of movements, codification of a way of playing, of the relationship with the audience, of improvisation.
Mhm.
That's why I may say that Commedia dell'arte is the great father of clown, as we know it today in the West,
Right.
especially
Okay, that makes
Europe,
sense.
North America.
And then what you said about the different animal energies moving through the body that correspond to the different hungers or impulses that are awakened in the mask. That also reminds me of all of these different archetypes that live inside of us, all these different personages,
Ah,
personalities, and personas, but they correspond more deeply, you're saying, even more to these nature energies that speak
yeah.
to something more ancient and more universal than a personality, a character, a stereotype. So now, though, Commedia dell'arte today, here, now, does it mean the same thing? Are we still
Yes
connected
and
to a lion?
yes and no.
Hmm.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I have a critique on the way some people teach commedia dell'arte or explain commedia dell'arte, because the core of commedia dell'arte is here now. I'm here now. So here now, I don't have to take the pose, the movements of a character 500 years ago in Venice, in Padua, in Paris. Doesn't make sense. It's like folk stuff, you
Right.
know. But here now, the instinct of hunger, the instinct of power, the instinct of sex, the instinct of being yourself, basically, beyond the construction of personality, is very present. The critique to the society, most of commedia dell'arte plays are related to power, the servant and the rich person, the banker, and the servant. Of course, it's not the same as in Venice of 500 years ago, but it's the same relationship of the rich and the poor, the
Mm.
rich banker and the poor that serve in the, in the cafe. I
Mhm.
think you have still in your city, maybe in Wall Street.
Big time. Yeah.
More. There were also gender issues because they are male characters, but also women playing the male side. So they were the first people. They were the first art where the genders of the character were mixed. So they broke so many rules. And probably, maybe, also in the United States now, today, we need to reflect about all this and find new provocations
Oh,
and
yes.
say new stuff. So if we take the material of 500 years ago, it would just copy and paste. It doesn't work. It's
Mm.
not like little jumps and that voice. No, but here now, what's that hunger of being recognized as a man, as a woman, as a whatever now? How is the relationship of power, of money, of wars? For example, this one is the captain, is a soldier that loves to go to war and invade other countries. Because Venice that time was an imperial state that goes in the bloody Middle East to conquer,
Mhm. Mm.
sponsored by banks. So, are there people that loves war now, that love to bomb somebody else? I
No,
I think so.
everywhere.
Maybe not with a sword, but with something else. What's the instinct of
Mhm.
claiming somebody else's lands? What's the instinct to be so powerful and brave to go and tell somebody else to die? Those are the instincts. Those are the hangers of gender recognition, of power of money, of clever servant, of war not war, of find some voice. Those are the instincts that Commedia triggers right now. Right now. So the question is, how they are in New York City 2025? How are they in Italy? How are they in the Middle? I went to the Middle East in Lebanon in the end of the war that was there. And we did sponsored by United Europe and a big theater of the Middle East with the people that were under the bombs. somebody's bombs in that time, and we played Commedia dell'arte. How was that hunger? How was that survival mood? I was love and sex under the bombs. It's here now. It's now 500 years ago. And the mask of Commedia, the style of Commedia, as Commedia gods are calling, yes, we love you, are calling us to redefine the meaning of that hunger, of that instincts, of that power of being human beings. So this is my answer, Karen.
I'm going to turn off my phone right now so this doesn't continue to happen.
I
This
think
is
it's a good.
really inspiring. One moment.
Please.
Off. Okay, that won't happen again. Pardon me. So, what you mentioned about the dynamics of power and points of provocation in a culture, in any culture, but let's say now, also speaks to what would have drawn Jacques Lecoq to this research to begin with, right? Because anyone who's read The Moving Body, The Poetic Body, knows that a lot of his research was inspired by anti-fascist protest in Europe, street protest, right? So, and then he began his movement research with school children all over Europe to see how their bodies were moving after fascism, after being immersed in fascism for years.
Because one thing that fascism does is to castrate the body, the expression of the body, the awareness of the body, the feelings of the body, the emotions of the body. So the rediscover of the body, the rebelonging of the body is an anti-fascist affirmation.
I love that. I love that. That could be like one approach, one pearl that you could say is an approach to the entire pedagogy. And really an approach to life, to empowerment of a whole human. And it makes sense then that you would say theater is your prayer. Because if we're in our bodies, and this, you mentioned working with the shaman in Mexico, many healers will say this, that collectively as a humanity, most of us are not in our bodies most of the time. Most of us are traumatized. So, Giulio, you were just saying, I had just asked you about the anti-fascist origins of the Lecoq pedagogy. And we were talking about embodiment, how the response to fascism, the medicine, the antidote to fascism is to be in the body. And that we're in a time collectively as a humanity where most people are not connected to their bodies. They're not living in their bodies. Their psyche, their being is somewhere out here because of various traumas. There, exactly. There. And it has changed us. So how empowering it is to reconnect to the body. And one of the ways is through the mask and through the collective empowerment. You're speaking of Commedia dell'arte in terms of the people telling the story of the people to the people, rather than this elite experience of theater that only some people can afford and rich people rehearsing the stories of the rich to the rich.
Exactly. So there are many layers on the theater, especially in Commedia dell'arte. There is like a social layer, artistic layer, and of course, psychological layer. Okay. And so we journeyed through all of this. By the way, the name art, as we use today, comes from Commedia dell'arte. Why? Because in the society of Italy at that time, in order to make a profession, you can be like, I don't know, a crafter, because a bread maker, whatever, used to be inscribed in art, which is a corporation. But there was not there was not an art for comedians. People make people laugh. So they went to the city hall, to the government, saying, "We do this job. So you're doing this for money?" "Yes, we're doing this for money." "Because why?" "Because we need to eat." We are not rich people, so we perform for money. So they invented a new art, a new corporation, which was Commedia. So our professional art started in Padova with Commedia dell'arte. So there are a lot of politics, a lot of sociology, a lot of psychology, a lot of art and poetry inside of Commedia dell'arte. And that's why it's here now. Because probably even today, we need to reflect on all of this. The relationship of our body, the wildness repressed in our body. As you said before, like Karen is outside the world, Giulio is outside the world, and the world is inside of us. So there is a fascist inside of me, of you, of each of us. Otherwise, we will not have these situations around the world. So it's also a way to break the chains that make us live in the mind, in the body, in the guts, in the words. And we're allowed to say, we're allowed to play. And one of the core that in the workshop we will explore a lot is that we will arrive to a level of taboo. Commedia dell'arte face taboos, social taboos, personal taboos, and break them with poetry, not with vulgarity, with poetry. So the taboo of the word, the taboo of the, I don't know, of the money, of the power, of the sex. It's always been that way. We break the roof and go beyond. And that's also why, in my opinion, personal opinion, Commedia dell'arte is the great father of clown. That through the poetry break some common consuetudini, how do you say consuetudini? Common senses and way of living.
So you said you break the taboo not with vulgarity, but with poetry. And my
Ah,
question immediately before you said that was going to be, well, then how do we distinguish commedia from buffon? But
mhm,
buffon is intentionally grotesque and can
mhm.
go to vulgarity. It doesn't have to, but it does. Um, can you say more about what would stop us? Are they the masks themselves and the energies themselves that stop us from going into the territory of buffon?
Big time. Because the masks that carry the animal inside of us, they have a big level of naivety, of innocence. Animals are innocent. There is no malice. It's, they are like that.
Yeah.
We are the way we are. Okay. So through that, how does a cat, a lion, love and get inspiration, sexual inspiration? It's not grotesque. It's not against the audience. It's not pointing the finger. It's like, this is the way I am. This is just the way I am. And by the way, there is a beautiful compassion and psychological level for me. This is the way I am. I accept it. I recognize it. I show it to you. And I love it because I feel so much excitement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And by the way, there is something very important that there is somebody that you probably know, which was called William Shakespeare, that came, many plays of William Shakespeare, like Romeo and Juliet, Othello, Gentleman of Verona, they are in Italy, they are in Venice region. Why? Because these gentlemen heard about Commedia dell'arte and said, I must to study this. I must to study this. So he heard about Ruzzante, which is considered the father of Commedia dell'arte, and he went to Padova, he went to Venice, he went to Verona to see how they used to play. And many of his plays, like Romeo and Juliet, 100%, are canovacci, are structured plays of Commedia dell'arte, put in a very beautiful and poetic way. So it's really a core
Wait,
of
what can
here.
you explain to those listening what Canavacci is?
Canovacci. So you're right. By the way, Shakespeare dedicated a lot of his works to Angelo Beolco Ruzzante, to the father of Commedia dell'arte. And he went to Italy to study Commedia dell'arte. So William Shakespeare went to Italy to study and get inspired by Commedia dell'arte. And he made all the beauty, we all now know and study and celebrate. What is a canovaccio? So when you play with the mask, as you know, with the clown, you're free. you improvise. But it's useful to have a line, you know. Within improvisation, there is a structure of points. Like you enter the stage, you sit down, and then you meet somebody. So there are 3 points. You enter the stage, you sit down, you meet somebody. But in between that, everything can happen. You enter the stage, you can fall, you can jump, you can fall in love with the audience, you can do whatever. So the Comediante dell'arte used to write in a canovaccio, which is um, I don't know how to say in English, a piece of texture, like an old blanket. Write the points like Arlecchino has to enter, Brighella has to meet him, just to have a reference. Okay, and in the middle, in the between of that, they used to improvise. So that's a canovaccio. It's a simple structure of play.
It makes me think of clown also because even though pure clown play is improvisatory, if we are going to transpose clown into, say, a full-length performance, which you recently did with your show,
Mhm. Yeah,
um, the way, yeah,
very
the
difficult.
way,
Very difficult. As
what's
you did, very difficult. As you did, very difficult stuff.
it's very difficult. It takes a long, long time to, as we say, devise from improvisation. We find these magic moments that work, and then at least the way that Elizabeth Barron, our teacher, and I put that into a show is the Carnavaccio. We say, okay, we've got this moment here, this moment here. Where did you go? Come back. Okay, sorry, you disappeared. Here. We've got
I'm here now.
this moment here, like these little lily pads, and then how do we get from one lily pad to the next? And a lot of the play is in that. So
Yeah.
even in clown we do, but it comes from Commedia dell'arte.
Yeah, it comes. It's really the root. And that's why I advise people who really want to dive in clown and improvisation theater to get to know Commedia dell'arte. Because all of this comes from there. All of this comes from there. So connecting with the roots, but revitalized smartly for the here now, 2025, United States of America, New York City, Italy, it will just boost inner energy and the fun of play, the pleasure of play, because you break so many barriers, mental barriers, and you reconnect with the wild side of yourself, and you just say yes. You just say yes to wild joy, wild joy.
I have one more question for you. You,
Please.
when you said you wanted to teach Commedia dell'arte, you said that you felt in Lecoq pedagogy there was something that they weren't getting about the art.
No,
And
no.
really, it's an art form from your hometown, and you know it, it's in your blood. What do you feel needs to be there that wasn't there in the Lecoq training, or it might
Yeah.
not be there in other dell'arte, Commedia dell'arte trainings?
I will reply to you with the words that I'd used in the Middle East now that I went. That was super challenging, as you can imagine. That Commedia dell'arte is a spirit. Commedia dell'arte is not a style. Commedia dell'arte is not a form. It's also that. But in the core, it's a spirit. And that spirit is very present in my culture. It's like if you want to go on samba dancing, probably a person from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, is more in the spirit of that.
Yeah.
Study the movements. You can study the music. But if you get the spirit, the roots, it's much better. So, what I really want to transmit is this spirit that I feel it's mine because I just grew up there. I grew up there. I until I was 18, I'm not joking. Until I was 18, the only theater I saw was Commedia dell'arte. For me, until 18 years old, I didn't know there was another theater. I didn't know. There was no Broadway, there was nothing. There was only Arlecchino, Pantalone, Brielle, etc. So, and it's in the common language. It's in the ways of speaking, the ways of movement. It comes out of the land. And when something comes out of the land, it comes out of the land. So I feel I'm a fruit of that land. And what Lecoq did was amazing. Was coming with a culture from France, Paris, great intellectuality to study and research and to understand, to analyze, to see, to structure something which is in the instincts of people, in the instinct of a culture, of a tradition. I'm simply just come from that tradition. So when I studied Commedia dell'arte, you can ask Liz, it was very hard. Because if we go through the forms only, through the pace, through the rules, it's a hard time. It's gonna be a hell. Probably you experienced that. If we connect with the spirit, we probably break through. So it's not a critique to Lecoq, my God, I will not dare. It's just a claiming of roots.
Yes, yes. And the cock would have different roots, different things emerging from the land of France, that he would have a much stronger connection to the spirit of those arts. It makes sense.
Completely. So this is a little critique to the culture that spread Commedia around the world. There is a little bit of cultural appropriation, you know, as everywhere, as everybody. I'm just claiming the roots, just claiming something original, which is original in the spirit, but global in the forms. Like in New York City, here now, how is the instinct of survival, of sex, of gender, of power, of money, of war? How is it? And that's the way we will explore with joy and fun.
I'm so excited for
Me too. Can't wait.
you to come here and share the spirit of Commedia dell'arte. We're very lucky coming here. Is there anything else that folks should know about you, about the work, about the workshop that you want to share right now?
About me, I consider myself a theater artist. And the core of my spirit is in Commedia dell'arte. I understand theater through Commedia dell'arte. So I've learned a lot. Many seeds were planted, but they blossomed Commedia dell'arte. And I start to really belong to theater the minute I said to myself, that's my lineage. That's my lineage. And I had a very beautiful ritualistic moment with Giovanni Fusetti, which is my mentor, my master, my teacher, and my guide and inspiration. When he told me, we met in Padova under the statue of Ruzzante made by Amleto Sartori. And he told me, like, now you're ready to teach. And so, like, I felt like an initiation within Commedia dell'arte. I've worked in art a lot. I played in movies. We won some prizes, etc. But the thing I want to share is the soul of this art because I feel entitled and humble towards, as we say in Italy, I lay on the shoulder of giants. And Commedia dell'arte is a giant style. It's the second oldest style of theater existing with the Japanese no, which is a mask theater, by the way. So the oldest theater styles in the world are mask theaters. One is Japanese, one is Italian. I just feel it, I belong to it. And when you feel you belong to something, you feel the joy and entitlement and the presence to share to the world. So the workshop is going to be intense, fun. You don't need to know anything about theater, but if you know something better, it's open to everybody. And don't be shy. If you're shy, play your shyness. and be ready because probably you never wore a mask in your life, you that are coming. And it's an incredible experience. It's a really incredible experience because you will feel the history, the tradition, the smell, the soul of something that really lays in the roots of humanity, in its desire to play and be alive.
Mhm. Mhm. Beautiful. So, to everybody watching, this will be in the captions below this posted video. But this workshop that Giulio is coming to gift us with, we're so lucky, is called Mastering the Art of Play, a weekend intensive in Commedia dell'arte with Giulio Vanzan. It will be September 13th and 14th from 11:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. on Saturday the 13th and 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Sunday the 14th. I had to really think about that. Um, there is a deadline. We must enroll by August 15th. So that's the deadline to enroll. Please email me. My email address is down below. Yes, and I'll send you all the information, all the details on how to enroll. And come, enjoy,
Come,
play.
enjoy, play.
Okay, thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you all. Grazie mille.